The RPG After Years is part of the We Can Make This Work Probably Network. Find out more at probablywork.com.
Welcome to the RPG After Years, your weekly show covering all things RPGs from the past, present, and future. This is episode 50. I'm Scott.
I'm Rich.
And I'm Jay.
Today, we're going to be revisiting a topic that just doesn't seem to die. We've discussed it on the show in depth before, and it's come up time and time again. It's an age-old debate that doesn't really have an answer. Just what the fuck is an RPG? But before that, it's been a hot second, so let's do a little catch-up. Okay, yeah, it's been a month since we've been able to have a regular episode, I think. So, yeah, well, Rich, why don't we start off with you?
Yay. So I've been playing a little bit. I played a little bit of NieR, I guess, obviously. We all did that.
Okay, wait, did you get ending E or no?
Not yet.
All right. You got to wait.
I will before we finish it.
Just watch the video.
Or just watch it, yeah.
Yeah. I played a little bit of Tales of Berseria, just for Jay.
Where are you at?
I am at the port town. I just finished, I think I just got past, it's been like a week since I played it.
Do you have the little girl yet? Little plant girl?
Okay. Little plant girl?
Yeah, little plant girl.
No, I just have, I just got Magilu's guy back, and now she's in my party.
Okay.
She actually does stuff now. So I got her.
Like I know exactly what y'all are talking about.
Still a little early on.
He's made some progress, but he has not hit the halfway point yet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, some progress is better than none.
That's right. I caved. I'm sorry, Bill and Disa. I fired up Legends of Legaia.
And is it standing up to your nostalgia?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I love that game. I have it on my PSP. Bill helped me with some stuff on that one. And then I've been playing a little bit of Tales of Fantasia on my Game Boy Advance SP.
Have you started that before?
No.
Interesting.
Is that even good?
Yeah, it's like the old ones. The PlayStation 1 version, like Tales of Destiny and whatnot. I don't know where that falls in the storyline or the Tales games. But yeah.
Wait, none of them are really connected, right? I mean, I know there's some sequels, but
I think just Berseria and Vesperia are connected.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
This is just where it falls in development and stuff like that, at least. Destiny 2. Played that last night with some guys.
Okay. Have you finished the season yet?
No.
I know more about Destiny thanks to all of Dizzy's streams than I care to, but
yeah,
I know everybody's done, basically.
I just did this thing called the Prophecy Dungeon. I think it's been out for a while, since like December. It took us like 2.5 hours to do it, to figure it out, how to make it happen and beat it. And then this is for Jay. I've been doing Udemy classes 1 hour a night after I do my workout. I've been doing 3D modeling.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
How's that
going?
Yeah.
It's going pretty good. I'm learning how to create a person. So not bad. It just takes me a minute.
I think I had like an engineering class in high school where we had to like do 3D models, and I fucking hated it. So
there's so many options and so many buttons that do different things, like Control R, Control Z, X-axis, Z, Y, and it's just like,
Yeah.
I had to go back several times on some lessons and go, okay, how do I do this? How do I make this smaller? How do I make this bigger? So right now I've got a base of a person. I got the whole outline of a person. I haven't done the hands or extremities or anything, but I've got the arms. I learned how to mirror. So I just do one side of a person and then you mirror everything over to the right side.
That's interesting.
Or the left side.
Well, pretty sure you'll have your game sooner or later.
Yeah, eventually. I'm just learning things as I go.
Yeah.
I've tried to learn Blender on several occasions, and usually I'm just like, I'm not artistic enough for this process.
There's so many buttons and so many other things too. It's wild.
Yeah.
I admire that tenacity, though, like the actual resolve to actually go and take these Udemy classes. It's difficult.
I figure just taking like an hour a night, if I can, just to learn something.
Yeah.
That's my habit of the week.
I need to get on that train too. Okay, well, that's it.
That's it.
All right, I guess I'll go next. I have had a pretty tumultuous month of gaming, really, but especially the last week. I started streaming on Twitch, like I've been talking about, and that has actually been going surprisingly well. I'm very, very happy about that, which is good because I got a job rejection this week also. So that was like a nice like distraction type thing. But yeah, I'm like super pleased with how it's been going. I started out with Hollow Knight on there, which I had never played before. At first, I was having a really hard time with it because my controller wasn't working, so I had to use a keyboard. But then the second time I played it, I had a controller, and it went a lot better. So I'll keep playing that. I'm finding it pretty enjoyable. I like the art style and like just the presentation of it. Of course, been playing NieR Automata. Everybody knows about that. Played some Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, for Bill's podcast that he's been doing about it. Podcast Club. I don't even know what he's really calling it. But I didn't hate that as much as I thought I would, because, that's supposed to be the one bad Zelda. Played some Cyberpunk, or Corey did. I think he just did mostly side quests. I don't remember him getting far. And then we started Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity, which I was sort of on the fence about, just because it's a Warriors game, and who cares about that?
I also heard it's not even canon to the Breath of the Wild game.
I thought it was.
It's supposed to be, but there's some time travel tomfoolery, and things are all already like playing out in the story where I'm at like differently than they originally did or were supposed to. So I don't know like where it's going exactly. I'm going to be pissed though if it doesn't end the same way, like everybody dies and Zelda has to seal herself and all that. But I still don't love the gameplay, but the story's been pretty decent, especially for a Zelda game. And we're like pretty far into it, like maybe 3/4 or 2/3 or something. So I'm pretty pleased with it. Booted up the original Final Fantasy for a minute. Played that a couple nights, just trying to make more progress. I beat one of the bonus dungeons, but still stuck. I've still got a lot to do, basically, as far as the bonus dungeons go. But what if I finish it? Does that mean Rich has to repick Mage's Gone Wild back up?
Yep.
That's a legacy reference for.
It's just gonna.
Yeah. It's been on Rich's plate for like 2 years, 3 years, something like that.
Let the sleeping dogs lie.
Yeah.
It's never gonna happen. I'm sorry. I apologize for everybody.
Yeah.
No, let's just move on with that one.
Corey and I beat Resident Evil Revelation. That was a very good Resident Evil game, I thought. I liked it a lot. Just the setting and the atmosphere was top notch, and it felt more like an old school Resident Evil than like one of these action-packed ones. So
I'm going to have to finish that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a long game, so...
Ah.
So after that, Corey and I are like slowly trying to work our way through the Resident Evil series. So we went ahead and picked up Resident Evil 5. We're like a third to halfway into that. We've both beaten it before, but it's like been so long, and it's a fun game to play co-op.
That one got so much heat politically when it came out.
Well, because all the zombies are black, right? So, but you're in Africa, so
yeah, that's the thing. That was the big point of it. A lot of people were complaining about that, and then the gaming community is like, they're in Africa. Why are you complaining about that?
Yeah.
So
there are a lot of white people in Africa, guys.
yeah,
that's
like
true,
that.
yes.
Africa's been colonized by all kinds of different.
Well, I think
for a very long time.
I think
Elon
what it was
Musk
is
from
because
Africa, and Elon Musk is very white.
Yes. Well, I think it was because that whole area was basically in a like native area. I think, right, Scott, for the game?
Yeah, it's like a native village type place.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I could see both sides, I guess.
Yeah.
Lauren, we're still playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider with Lauren, our friend. She is moving at the end of February, so we're really trying to power through that.
Where's she moving to?
Greenville, which is just only a few hours away, so it's not like we'll never see her again. But our game nights will probably have to come to an end. We tried doing when she had COVID, doing like a remote game night, like streaming it just to her, and it was doable, but the lag was like palpable. It was not insignificant, so it's like we were reacting to things she was seeing like 10 seconds later, so it just was not the best. Yeah,
that's why you just got to be like, oh, this thing happened. One,
an audio only let's play. We also beat Ori and the Blind Forest. That game is pretty hard. I had to take over in the last area because Corey just couldn't do it, which was sad because he played the entire rest of the game by himself. But it's a cute little charming game. We still have a couple areas that were added to the definitive edition to do, like bonus areas. So I'll get to that soon enough. And then we also got all the green stars in Super Mario Galaxy 2 and beat the Grandmaster Galaxy. So we'd already beaten it before, but I think that's deserving of another little air horn there. We even did a review.
Is that the first time you've done that, though? That specifically?
I have done it when the game first came out when I was in college. But I wanted Corey to see the Grandmaster Galaxy. It's like this really challenging galaxy in comparison to the rest of the game, because I didn't feel like he could properly review it without experiencing that. Yeah, and then finally, Corey also finally beat the Fire Emblem Three Houses DLC. He put that down like a long time ago, and he never went back to it because he was stuck on a battle that he couldn't beat. And it's like crushing when you lose a battle in a Fire Emblem game, because they can take it like over an hour depending on the battle. But he booted it up and did it in like 20 minutes, like with no problem. So I don't know what he's doing differently. But yeah, so that's off the table. That's all the games we've been playing. On the stream, I did Pokemon Sword. Still not to the first gym, but making some progress. And I feel like there's another game I did on the stream I'm not thinking of. Oh, we played the Resident Evil 8 demo, which was very short, but very... I dug it. Like, it was really cool. The atmosphere was cool. The big vampire lady was awesome.
The sad thing is that
there are vampires in Resident Evil now.
This one apparently.
Yeah. The girl that bit you in the neck in that demo. Yeah. The voice actor passed away last week.
Yeah, that's
sad.
She's seems like she's going to be a cool character too.
Yeah.
So, alas. Finally, on a personal note, I bought a treadmill, and I've been making good use of that. The boys know this story already, but while we were unpackaging it, I cut like a strap that was holding like the leg that supports it together. And even though I had a big warning label on it, I totally did not even see that. And it like sprung open and kind of like it didn't break my toenail in half, but it like bent it backwards really bad. And that was not pleasant, but I thought it was funny, kind of, because it's like, well, I've injured myself and
hilarious.
Yeah. But our gym room is now very crowded, but I'm in love. And my trainer gave us a free Peloton subscription because apparently he had some family plan. So that was awesome. But yeah, that's it for me.
So you have a Peloton?
I do not have a Peloton, but I can like watch the workouts basically. Or stream them or whatever for free. When he offered that, I was like, isn't that worth like more than what we pay you? But what you gonna do? We're very grateful. But yeah, that's it for me. What have you been up to, Jay?
All right. So I guess technically, since the last time we did this, I did play and beat NieR. I don't know if we've already celebrated it, so I won't make you press the button.
Okay. I didn't press it for us, so.
So I have played a whole lot of Trails in the Sky, and I'm like I'm definitely in the last chapter because it tells you the final chapter. And I think I'm about to go to like the last technically dungeon area. And I think that's where all the shit's gonna go down.
It's a long game too, right? So like
that's not too bad. I'm at like 33 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was thinking it was gonna be a bit longer, but
it's just slow to get started, right?
Yeah. I've heard that the second one is like directly after the first one, because like in development they were supposed to be one game, and then they're like, oh no, this is way too long, so they chopped it in half at a specific point.
Right. Okay. Well,
yeah,
so you'll have that finished soon then.
Yes, I will. Next week I will certainly be able to say that I beat it, and then I will probably immediately start the second one.
Nice.
So outside of that, I have also been playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I am very stuck because I was defeated by a boss, but the way you got to that boss was through a cutscene. And the area where they jump from like a cliff onto the boss is like impossible for you to actually jump. And whenever you get defeated, you pop back up right on that cliff without, like, you can't retrigger the cutscene or anything like that. So like the only way that you can get back there is to have a specific person on a specific level, like a specific skill level, to do like pump their jets out and carry everybody over there. So that sucks. So I'm gonna have to. Are
you like, there's literally nothing you can do, or
I can grind until I have somebody that has a high enough of the skill that's needed.
Sounds fun. I don't know about you, but grinding or Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but grinding in the first one kind of low key sucked, in my opinion.
Well, so. This game's very slow. Like the battle's like
yeah.
Yeah. So it's not going to be fun. I might load up a save because I'm in the habit of making lots of save files every time I save.
That's good
because of the chillin'. But so I might load up an older save that's maybe an hour behind instead of grinding.
Gotcha.
I have also been playing Tales of Vesperia. I made it to Nordopolica, which I think is decently far. I know Bill's like a handful of areas behind me. So at some point I'm going to beat this as well. I'm just slowly chipping away at it.
Bill's been loving it, from what I understand.
Yeah, it's a great game. I don't really like the battle system too well. I feel like it's kind of clunky, to me at least. But everything else is really, really good. I've also made a little bit of progress in Tales of Zestria, which is not as good as Tales of Vesperia. So the only time I'm really playing it is whenever I don't want to play something on Steam and somebody's already using the Switch. That's pretty much the only time I will play it.
Between the two of you and Bill, like, you guys are like playing all the Tales games, it feels like.
Tales of Fantasia, Tales of Vesperia, Tales of Zestria, Tales of Berseria.
This is now a Tales cast.
We're just missing all the rest of them.
Yeah. Some of those are hard to find.
Yeah.
Ooh, Tales of the Abyss is pretty good on 3DS.
Yeah, I've gotten about 3/4 of the way through that before. I got like last year. It is very good. I just never finished it because I, again, got myself stuck to where I didn't have a save and I'm a little underleveled for the area and there's a boss that's killing me. So my only option is to grind 4 hours and I don't want to do that.
Sounds great.
Yes. So I've played a little bit of Super Smash.
What brought that up? Oh, was that Gracie wanting you to play? Yeah.
Usually I just play with her and destroy her. And then I also bought and played Super Mario Bros. U on the Switch, which is embarrassingly difficult. I'm very bad at Mario games.
It's not an easy Mario game. Like, I wouldn't call it hard, but Harder than I would expect for that type of game, I guess.
I can't even get past the second area.
What about Gracie? How's she doing?
Well, we all played it together, and it ended in a very angry fit because of how difficult it was.
I've played that before with a group of friends, like 4 players. We played all the way through the game, but like there were definitely some never on my end, but some angers coming out against each other.
I don't even understand what's going on. Like, I don't understand the mechanics because we will just be playing, and then all of a sudden we'll be in bubbles, and we'll be like, "What? Like, why are you in a bubble right now?" Like that's what was making Megan mad, is that she would just randomly end up in a bubble and have no idea why.
Have you guys ever had the issue where like everybody bubbles at the same time?
Most likely. Does that cause the game over?
Yeah, it causes a death. So,
yes, we have had that happen.
it's always funny whenever I did that with Corey. It's like, oops.
How do you turn into a bubble? You want to give me the secret magic there?
It's on the Wii. It's the A button. So I don't know if that's different on the Switch, but
that would make sense.
Or
because we were all kind of pressing buttons, trying to figure out what the heck's going on.
Yeah, there's a specific button for it, and you can excuse me, you can use it to like if one person gets past a particularly difficult like jump or whatever, then the other person can use it to catch up or not have to do that. So that's the point of it.
Okay, I'll take this knowledge back to home
It also
base.
is a good way to save yourself from death if if you know you're going to fall in a pit, like you missed a jump.
Mm-hmm.
So
good deal.
Well,
so
cool.
Yes, that is everything. I don't think I've done anything else.
Bill says in the chat that he's only 2 towns behind you. I'm assuming he's talking about Vesperia. So
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we're all caught up, we actually do have a couple of announcements. I think we've only been able to skip Save State of the Podcast once since we decided to start skipping it, but it'll be a short one. So let's do it. All right, tell us something, Rich.
All right. So some things that we can tell is the RPG Club nominations will go live after this episode, which already happened, apparently.
That's
right?
something what we would have said last week if we were recording.
Yes, I just realized that. So it's already live. You have till today to finish that. I think we've already done a pretty good job of announcing that to everybody that is part of the Patreons that can nominate. So please get them in.
The voting will open after this episode. So
yes,
I'll run down what the nominations are real quick. Frost nominated Secret of Mana, Kabaski, Radiant Historia, Jay, Chrono Trigger, Mini BT, Atelier Ryza, Ever Darkness, and The Secret Hideout. I nominated World of Final Fantasy. Lauren nominated Divinity Original Sin 2. Rich nominated Pokemon X and Y. Disa nominated Chrono Trigger, and Corey nominated Undertale. I think that's like a really strong
So me
lineup.
and Disa both.
Well, she said she was going to nominate Chrono Trigger, but since you did, she nominated Super Mario RPG.
So all of those games, I would love to play.
Yeah, that's like a fucking strong lineup. Like I don't really care what wins because it's like
what did Bill put down?
What did Bill say? Was
it Breath of Fire 4?
Oh yeah, Breath of Fire 4.
Okay.
So
yeah, I'm like totally cool with that entire list.
Yeah, can we play all of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see.
We should just freeze that list and say this is the RPG club for the next 2 years.
Yeah, there you go. And then the other announcement I've sort of already alluded to, but I have started streaming and I'm having a lot of fun over there. So if anybody wants to come join me, you can do that at twitch.tv/thescottspot with underscores between the words. Unfortunately, the one without underscores is taken. So
by who?
I don't know. He's never streamed though, from what I can tell. I should buy him out. But yeah, so let's move on to the news.
Hear ye, gather round for all your news. Stop your clatter and listen close. Alas, you won't believe your ears. Listen close for the news.
Okay, it has been it's been a while since we did this, so we got a few stories here, but we're going to try to power through them. And I'll let Jay take what I consider to be the lead story of the past month.
All right, guys, they've done it again. they've created a product that they will continue to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze until it's dry and ready to die.
Absolutely.
Square Enix trademarks Ever Crisis and The First Soldier, which is like that's pretty much like, okay,
That's all we know about.
they're gonna do more Final Fantasy VII stuff that is outside of the Final Fantasy VII remake. We don't know what it is. We don't know if it's a movie or an anime or a mobile game, but I mean, it's pretty obvious. The First Soldier was Sephiroth, wasn't it? Or was it?
There was some debate about that, but I think it was Sephiroth.
I can't remember if it was Sephiroth or Genesis.
That's what the debate was, but I'm pretty sure it was Sephi first. So not by long, though, for what it's worth.
I hope it's a Crisis Core stuff.
I think it's going to. I feel like it's going to be something specifically around Sephiroth, and then something around Zack. Like, I really don't think that Final Fantasy VII Remake 2, 7R2, whatever we want to call it, is going to be like split between Cloud and Zack. I think they're going to just stick with Cloud for the R games, and then they're going to make a new game for Zack. And then maybe they're going to make something prequel-wise for Sephiroth to like further expand on his story because he's freaking super duper popular.
Mm-hmm. What's your take, Rich?
I don't know. I feel like they're going to end up making him more relatable. Like they're going to.
I mean, that'd be cool.
He was just a boy, just a young boy,
born in a test tube.
I'm just a young boy.
So my thoughts on that is just, I mean, I would love to see Crisis Core brought to the modern consoles, at least maybe Switch, whatever, or PlayStation. So do it. I think this might be them just trying to cover their basis on that, maybe.
Well, for what it's worth, they also trademarked the Shinra logo at the same time. So
yeah, so they're doing something. I expect some kind of announcement in the next 6 months or so of what they're going to do.
Here's what I think. If I was a betting man, I think that these are going to be. We're not going to get Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. We're going to get Final Fantasy VII Remake Ever Crisis. Final Fantasy VII Remake The First Soldier. Because the plots are going to be different enough that they don't want to call it Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 or anything like that. That's just speculation, but that's what I would say.
I could see that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I could see that. Or like the second remake game is gonna like be heavily focused on Zack, and the third one's just like, we got to defeat Sephiroth.
Yeah,
which could be the First Soldier.
We must defeat Sephiroth 3 times over. The first one, and then the second one, and then the one from the past. And
yeah, I hope that's not the case. I just feel like that sounds like something they would do to me at this point. But yeah, no matter what, I mean, we're all going to play them, and unless it's a mobile game, and then we'll
screw that.
Yeah, right. It's exciting times.
I mean, it could be a good mobile game, but that's unlikely. Like, I don't understand why Square Enix makes the mobile games the way they make the mobile games, where it's like embarrassingly unfun. Like, there are a lot of good games that are on mobile. Just make it like that.
There are some that are fun. Like, I've been playing Record Keeper every day for years, and some people really like Brave Exvius and Opera Omnia, but your mileage may vary. But okay, another big thing that happened while we've been away is the Zelda Ocarina of Time beta build content was able to be salvaged or leaked from somewhere. And the way this came about, it was pretty crazy. Apparently, I can't remember what game it was off the top of my head. Let me open up the article here. But somebody found like a beta cartridge of, here it is, F-Zero X on the Nintendo 64. If you open the article there, it's like a Nintendo 64 cartridge, but it's like twice the height of a normal one. But going through the code dump of that beta, they found like a bunch of leftover content from the Ocarina of Time beta. And I'm not going to like dive into like the intricate details here, but like a lot of people were excited about this because there was a lot of like early trailer footage and like screenshots of things that didn't exist in the final game. And so it's always been like sort of the lore of this, famous game. Like where did the unicorn fountain go? And like the forest temple used to be the wind temple, and there used to be like a lot of magic spells and shit like that. Some story tweaks, things like that.
And then Nintendo came in and sued the shit out of those people.
I'm surprised they didn't do anything. I mean, Nintendo did have that Giga leak not that long ago. But not a whole lot to say about it, but I'm sure that there are some people out there that would be very interested in this. But from what I understand, it is not playable. They might be working on restoring it somehow, but I feel like that would be a tall order.
Yeah.
It's really cool, though.
All right, so Yeast 9 and Monster Hunter Rise demos now available. However, Monster Hunter Rise expires the 31st, so today as recording, so you won't be able to play that. But yeah, that's just basically to try those demos out. Yeast is a popular series.
We got some people on the Discord that are excited for Yeast.
Yeah, I know Bill likes the bump and grind. So
yeah, why would you do a time limited demo? I don't understand that.
I don't know. It's just weird. Well, you think of the concept. You remember the Resident Evil 2 one-shot demo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same, I mean,
same
that's
concept.
different though. Like at least you can always have it.
Yeah, but you can't play it. Once you only get one shot at it.
True. I guess. Okay.
I did play the Monster Hunter Rise demo.
What'd you think?
It's a Monster Hunter game.
Okay.
Noted. Okay. Project Athia, which is a game that I think we are tentatively hyped for, has been possibly dated for January 2022. This came out during Sony's CES 2021 digital press event, and although it wasn't like an official announcement, if you read the fine print at the bottom of one of their screens that they showed during it, it says, okay, it gives a little bit to chew on. The following can be seen. I'm trying to read it. It's really small font.
This is just going to be Final Fantasy 16.
Wouldn't that be something? Oh, it says Project Athia January 22 in very small text at the bottom of one of their screens. So, not officially confirmed, but like, also why would it be there if not? I don't know. But I'm excited for that. We'll see where that goes. We need to see more though.
So Trails of Cold Steel 4 was announced as being released on the Nintendo Switch for North America and Europe on April 9th. It's already out for the PlayStation 4.
Oh.
But they brought it to the Switch.
Okay, so are you excited about that? Or do you have
I am like a year behind being able to play that game. Or a year before I can actually play that game because I have to play after I beat the Trails in the Sky. I have to play Trails in the Sky. I think it's SC, and then Trails in the Sky the third, and then there are two more games that are currently Japanese only, but you can like mod it with an English patch. So I'll play those two games. I think that's Trail to Zero and I don't know Trails of Azure, and then there's the 4 Trails of Cold Steel games.
Jeez.
So, okay. I mean.
He's got a lot to do.
That's a lot of games.
But you like him though.
I love them. I love the like sci-fi political space because these games are all like Civil War. Like, oh, there was a coup, and then it's like military and factions and little tiny bit of sci-fi, but otherwise, pretty not too far out there so far. And the characters are all really good so far. So Trails of Cold Steel has some questionable characters that are like, you're just fluff at this point. But yeah.
Well, if you weren't already so far into it, I'd say you should nominate it for RPG Club. So I have
don't do that.
Force me to do that. But, all right.
All right, so this comes as no surprise to everybody, but Steam put in an announcement. 50% more people use Steam in 2020 than 2019. So, I mean, it's kind of expected. Last year we had the pandemic that we're still dealing with today. A lot of people were home. So, obviously, they saw a much bigger increase to people using the service. Basically, it was 50.7% times greater than it was 2019. So earlier this year, they had to increase the bandwidth for Steam to accommodate the increase of playing. So
just people playing Among Us.
Yeah, that too. So, but that's it. I mean, that's pretty good. Gaming. Let's be real. Video games was a very big coping mechanism for the pandemic. So
also, I feel like this is just anecdotal, but I feel like I know 3 or 4 people who built a PC this year, and one of them sitting right here with me. But
yeah, I've also noticed a lot more like an uptick in how many people are building PCs, and I think it's kind of a side effect of like this last generation, like being on its last leg, and people are like, well, I don't want to, all of these are on PC. I'll just build one.
Well, and I did see this. This is me working in a game store. I saw a lot of consoles like Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. It was hard to get a hold of that stuff. So the next logical step would be to build a PC that was easier to get hold of. Yeah. So I think that's another factor to that.
And although I experienced large trials and tribulations getting my PC built, now that it is fully functioning, I'm loving it. So
good stuff.
Corey's been getting jealous. Like he's like, you're avoiding me. And I was like, no, I just have a new love.
Yeah. I use my games to avoid my wife, but that's fine.
There you go. Okay, this came out. Hogwarts Legacy, the open world Harry Potter RPG that Jay and I have discussed at length in the aftercasts. It has been delayed into 2022, allegedly just because they want to have more time to improve the game, which is usually a good thing, but there's just so much, negative surrounding J.K. Rowling and Fantastic Beasts and all that it's like, is that the real reason? I've got my tinfoil hat on.
Yeah, I think I was the one who speculated, there's a chance that this game just might not come out.
Now that you say that, I do remember you saying that.
Yeah, and you guys were like, no, they made a huge announcement, but now it's like, well, they delayed it some more. So
I think delays, though, are common for everything.
Look at Cyberpunk.
That one should have been delayed like another year.
Yeah.
Well, that they probably would have been safer just to not come out with it. But
wow, it's perfect segue.
So, speaking of Cyberpunk, they recently issued different statements about the launch date, and some of what they said, some of what the what was it, the CTO, CEO, somebody. They were initially we probably, that was our decision to release it. The executive board made a decision and it wasn't a good decision. And then they kind of started elaborating on why they made those decisions. And it seemed almost like they were blaming their QA department. So I was like,
it was not another PR disaster, basically.
Yeah. And so that was bad. But then on top of that, they also started releasing information about their road plan, next gen version, free DLC. Nothing too special there. However, they did release a big patch, and that patch also came with a game-breaking bug for one of the missions.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So the patch fixed a handful of things, but then also introduced a game-breaking bug.
It's like just a source of entertainment for me at this point, all the news surrounding this.
It really is. And then in final Cyberpunk news, they do have another lawsuit on behalf of investors into the company for misleading them. So I don't know. I feel like these lawsuits are legitimate, and so I don't think they're going to have a good outcome. They're going to end up with having to pay a huge amount of money to their investors.
We've been wanting to do another aftercast about all the drama surrounding this game, but it's like just news just keeps coming. So it's like difficult.
Sometimes listening to your board is not a good idea. That has no clue what's going on.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way about an executive board that I do about like most management. No offense, Mr. Manager 3. But
I'm on the ground. I make decisions when they need to be made.
But most like higher up managers, at least in software engineering, that I've noticed, like they really don't have any idea what's going on. They don't understand what's going on. They don't. Where I'm at now is like one of the rare exceptions where my manager is also like incredibly competent, but usually it's just like there's some normal business graduate who ended up as a manager and now they're just like kind of fumbling their way through it.
As a developer, I don't know if you've encountered this a lot or not, Jay, but one of the most irritating things that can happen is like when they ask you how long it will take to, when like manager asks you how long it'll take to do something and you tell them and they're like, really? Why?
Yes. Yeah.
I can confirm as a manager that I don't ask for timelines. I say, do the best to your ability, make it right. Yeah. That's all I ask.
So we'll talk more about Cyberpunk at some point, but like obviously there's still lots of news coming out about that. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
All right, so new Pokemon Snap trailer released, and release date has been announced to April 30th. Jay, is this something that Gracie would like to play?
Yeah. Oh yes, Gracie would love this. No, I'm very excited for this. Not just for Gracie, but for myself.
I know,
because this seems like a perfect game to just like, it's Friday night. I'm, having a little drinky drink. I think I'm gonna take some pictures of some Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, honestly, as well.
I played the original one like to its absolute death. I played that game so much.
Yeah, I also like wore it out when I was a kid. I remember that mode where you could take the photos and like make a story out of it, like a almost like a slideshow. I spent hours just making like my own like stories of these photos.
I remember probably my last memory the last thing I can really remember about it, because this was still when I like lived in Texas. Like I was probably barely, like not even 10 years old, maybe. It's definitely single digit age. I don't even know what year it came out in. But I can just remember trying to take pictures of Mew and failing, like utterly failing.
It was a little tricky. It was like a puzzle.
I never played them. I wasn't cool and had a Nintendo 64.
Well,
so
define cool. Well, if you didn't have a 64, then who?
I mean, no. I was a PlayStation kid. Yeah. We didn't mess around with that Nintendo stuff.
I had both because I was a spoiled little boy.
I can see that.
Mowed lawns and earned the money for a 64. So
I was not tall enough to mow lawns at the moment because I was like 6.
But yeah, there's a lot of people excited for this.
And this game seems like it's going to be significantly more robust than that first game, which is hopefully true.
I feel like the game industry is living off of millennial nostalgia right now.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's like,
they have nothing else.
You guys are getting old. You feel like garbage. You aren't happy with anything in your life. Come on back. Come on back
Snap
to the earlier
just
days.
Like something that people have been asking for years, for forever. Like a lot of people was like, come on, the Wii U was the perfect system for it because you had the gamepad that sort of acted like a camera, or you could have done that, and that never happened. So this is like the most excited I've been for anything Pokemon. I guess since the Nintendo 64. So
yeah.
Totes my goats.
Looking forward to that. Just a quick little story here, but I know it's something a lot of people are excited about. Atlas added a bunch of Persona soundtracks to Spotify. I'll read the list right here real quick. Persona 5, Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden, Persona 3 and Persona 3 FES, Persona 2, Persona 4 Dancing All Night, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, Never Before Reincarnation, Persona 4. I've never even heard of that. Persona 3 and Persona 4 Vocals Sound Collection, PQ and PQ2, Music Festival 2013, and Super Live 2015. So Persona is known for its music, and I think a lot of people were happy about this. But yeah, nothing really else to say about that. There are a couple missing Persona games from that list. That seems kind of arbitrary. But what you going to do? I've already illegally downloaded them before, or the Persona 5 anyway.
All right. So near Automata cheat code.
Automata.
I'm dumb. Cheat code lets you skip to ending E from the beginning discovered.
This was discovered 3 years after the game has come out. Over 3 years.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I think what it's like after you beat that first boss, the mechanical saw arm, you have to like stand between some barrels, and it's literally a cheat code. Like you press buttons in a certain order, and then it takes you to ending E, and which also unlocks the chapter select, so you can like skip to anywhere in the game that you want.
I feel like some developers like, you know what? Nobody's gonna get this. I'm just gonna put this in here.
Kind of neat. And having a cheat code like that, it seems like par for the course for, I guess, this game and Yoko Taro. So just weird shit abounds. But it's really cool whenever like something gets discovered about a game like so long after it came out. Like I think a story came out a couple days later that somebody discovered a cheat code in fucking Street Fighter 2 that unlocks a character that nobody even knew was in the game, which is just insanity to me. But yeah, so if you want to skip to the end, I think Frost would have loved to have had that code. And before the next thing that I don't have on here, yeah, we are very aware of the whole game stocks situation. Bleeding out the man out on Wall Street. Everybody's making money except for me. But I think we're going to talk about that on an aftercast at some point. But is there anything you guys want to say about it real quick?
I love eating the rich, but also
not rich, the rich.
The rich, not the rich, the rich.
I'm not tasty.
However, so like the it's kind of funny. Billionaires like like the whole everybody's on fire. Robin Hood stopping people from trading stock whenever like this is technically fully legal. It's not a pump and dump.
For now, it is.
Yeah, until somebody decides to change it. However, like
they're literally going to sue people over this, which is just
there's not a legit. So the person who started it is now worth $33 million. So like,
can Reddit send me a text next time? Like, come on.
I feel like the specific person that like if he didn't disclose that he owned a lot of GameStop stock, he could get in trouble by the SEC. But other than that, it's like, no, this is fine.
I'm living for this. Like, it's such an amazing story, and I love, like Jay said, fuck the billionaires.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big fan of AOC, her, but I agree with her on the one thing about investigation on stuff. She's like, something's not right here. Like being able to shut things off and stop people from doing stuff. That's not right.
This is something we could talk about for a long time. But I liked when AOC and Ted Cruz both agreed, and it was like hell hath frozen over.
Yeah.
Well, the AOC was also just like, I'm totally cool with working with Republicans, but not you because you tried to have me killed. Yeah. So go resign.
That was like straight fire. We
should talk about why you don't like AOC, because I think ultimately you would actually really like AOC.
I don't like her personality, if that makes any sense. I don't know.
Fair.
She just rubs me the wrong way. But I'm okay with not liking people, but I agree with her on the situation. I think that this is not right for the little people that are playing by the rules that were set by the rich people. But when the middle or the average person has the opportunity to, like Jay says, eat the rich, changing the rules to make it that way, that's not cool.
I think this has convinced me to have a fund of $5,000 that I am free to do with whatever I want on the stock market, just in case something like this pops up. I'm going to be like, bam,
dude. I'm telling you, I saw that Dogecoin was the new thing. I was like side eyeing the whole thing. Like, Rich, I'm curious to know, as a GameStop employee, like, what are people around the store saying about this? Anything?
Nope. I haven't worked in a while, so I have no clue. Like, there's nobody knows anything.
Well, unfortunately, like this probably isn't ultimately going to do anything to GameStop unless they take that, like this new influx of cash and put it towards something that makes their value like start coming back. Because otherwise, it's just the stock's going to fall
They need
back
to set up
down.
like some kind of digital storefront somehow, I think. And it's like the only thing I could think of that might save them.
Like the minute the news kicks off and says, the Reddit people are selling their stock, it's going to be like right back down to like $8.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's nothing to do with GameStop directly. It's the second market. So I have no idea.
It's just funny that it's like just GameStop of all things. So.
Yeah. There's no way that stock should be worth that much money.
Yeah. Okay.
Alrighty, so we have some RPGs coming up for the. So these are the RPGs released in the last 2 weeks. My bad. So we have Ocean's Heart on the PC on January 21st. Utawerumono, Prelude to the Fallen on PC, January 22nd. King Arthur Knight's Tale on PS5, Xbox S, XS, PC. And January 26th, that's actually entering early access. How do you pronounce that again? Atelier.
I actually don't know. I assume it's
Atelier. Atelier Riser 2. Atelier Ryza 2. Lost Legend and the Secret Fairy is came to North America on the 26th and Europe on the 29th for PS5, PS4, Switch, and PC. Dragon Quest Tact mobile game, January 27th. March in Forest, Mylan and the Forest Gift, PS4, Switch, PC on January 28th. The Yakuza Remastered Collection, Xbox One. Is that Xbox S? Is that the proper
Xbox Series?
Xbox
Series S.
The X Series, PC, January 28th. Sword of the Necromancer, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC on January 28th as well.
I'm pretty sure those Yakuza games were also put on Game Pass, which I'm excited about. But
I canceled my Game Pass because I wasn't playing anything.
womp womp, sad.
All right. So Citizens Unite, Earth, and X, PS4, Switch, PC, January 28th. Junction, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC, January 28th. Outcast in Mars, PC, January 29th. Star Renegades, PS4. Shards of Feyre, Outriders. I thought I got delayed.
It may have. I don't know.
I think I got delayed to April. Anyways, Outriders, PS5, PS4, Xbox Series S, Xbox One, PC. I'm going to say April is when that is actually coming out now. East 9, Monstrum Nox, PS4, February 2nd for North America, February 5th for Europe. Skyforge for the Switch, February 4th. The Werewolf, The Apocalypse, Earthblood, PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, PC, February 4th. That's a lot.
Yeah, a lot of games came out these past 2 weeks. We've been doing this every week, but obviously we didn't record an episode last week, so it's still built up.
I blame Bill for that still. I'm just saying.
It's, yeah, probably him. I made a joke about this, but my friend Dizzy, who was on the show not too long ago, he streams all the time, and he's been having a lot of internet ISP issues to where, like, he will just have to suddenly end stream. And when we tried to record that episode, I was wearing one of his, like, merch hats. So I messaged him after that. I was like, I blame you. I, like, channeled your internet issues through that. But anyway, RPGs releasing this coming week. Neo and Neo 2 Remastered, the complete editions, are coming to PS5 and PC, although maybe it looks like maybe the first one is not coming to PC. So that's weird. But yeah, short list for this coming week, I guess. I know some people like those Neo games. I don't really know much about them. But okay, with all of that out of the way, finally, let's take a quick break before we get to our main discussion.
Hello, my name's Bill. I'm here in the UK doing UK things, not being eaten by giant people.
And I'm Tyler, in the US, also not being eaten by giant people. And we host The Coordinate, an Attack on Titan podcast, where we...
Hold on a second, Tyler. Hold on. There's some weird noises going on outside the door. Let me just go check it out quickly. It's Twitter Troy Titan. My leg. He's eating my leg.
Bill?
No. Oh, it's gone. He's eating my bloody leg, Tyler. Troy's eating my... leg. Oh.
Anyways, we're a monthly podcast where we read an arc of the manga a month, try to get Bill caught up. Bill, you want to tell them where they can find us?
What? You want? What do you want?
Where can people listen to the podcast?
I don't have a clue. Oh, he's gonna eat me! He's gonna eat me! Why are there so many cats in here? Oh, God, I hope you
Can I get a new co-host?
Alrighty then, so let's get to our main discussion. Just what the absolute fuck is an RPG? Man, I love that Grandia 2 main battle thing. Maybe the best thing about the game.
Yes.
Okay, so basically this came about because it comes up over and over again, both in the Discord and while we're discussing on the show. What exactly is an RPG? We can't seem to come to an agreement. There doesn't seem to be a hard line anywhere, and it means different things to different people. So who wants to open up the discussion? We're going to try to settle it here.
Yeah, okay.
I'll go ahead and go. So I'm going to start off by saying that a game is an RPG if the person who made it says it's an RPG.
That's probably a good barometer, I guess.
There you have it.
Or
That's the answer.
I guess whatever the publisher decides, whatever it is. Just like the publisher decides if a novel goes in the fantasy section, maybe. I think that first off, let's make sure we respect what the publishers and developers are intending it to be. But second, I kind of feel like at the core of it, almost every game can be considered a role-playing game. I think that's kind of like what we're all, because if you just like, hey, you play a role, then it's like,
yeah, by definition, like even if you say it's like a sim game and even then it's like, well, you're kind of playing the role of God in that case.
Yes. I can say like the exceptions might be sports games because you are you're usually not playing an actual role. It's just sports teams going against each other. Like think of it as like a role in a play. If it can't seem like you are playing a role in a play, then maybe it's not actually a role that you're playing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like outside of that there are too many qualifications, in my opinion. Like any kind of gameplay can technically be role playing, like whether it's action, turn-based, or even just like a text story where there is no like actual kind of gameplay. But as long as you are playing a role to where if like the story was able to be turned into a play or a movie, then, that's somebody that you could play as an actor. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's better to say this is a action RPG. This is a fantasy RPG. This is a strategic RPG. And don't even get me started on a JRPG.
Yeah. So I think like most people with RPGs, like you think of Final Fantasy, Persona, like these games that are definitely RPGs with the turn-based, well, I should say the older Final Fantasies, with these turn-based battle systems and things like that. But then you also have games that sort of feel like RPGs, like the Zelda games that most people would say are not RPGs.
You're playing the role of Zelda of Link.
Yeah, excuse me, princess. There's like God of War, which to me does not feel like an RPG, but it has so many RPG elements that I think it would be totally fair to say it is one. I don't know. What do you think, Rich?
Okay, so back in the day, the turn-based system, like it was clear defining RPG games. There were the Final Fantasy Tales, so and so. Now that we're getting into more complex gaming, such as the PS5, the 4, PC, Xbox, the things we can do with the technology, you can integrate so many things into different game styles: action RPGs, strategy RPGs, sports RPGs. Like you can do all these things. So it's getting now to the point that the genre has been melded into everything. Like God of War, for example, like you said, has RPG elements. It's a leveling system. Devil May Cry has a leveling system. Bayonetta has a leveling system. I mean, you can make any game that you want into an RPG. It just depends on what you feel as an RPG. Now, like Jay says, the developer and the publishers can come out and say this is an RPG. So realistically, Among Us game, if the developer says this is an RPG, it's an RPG. So, I mean, I don't think there's a clear set defining RPG anymore because of what they can do with stuff.
Yeah, I think for me, it ultimately comes down to what the narrative is. Which is again a little subjective, but if a game has a narrative that I don't know exactly how to put it into words, but if you look at the narrative of like a Final Fantasy game and then compare it to the narrative of I don't know, a football game, like I guess if you really wanted to reach, you could say this football game has a narrative. We're the I don't know, New York Giants. That's probably a team. That sounds like
you're
a
right.
team.
You're good.
We're the New York Giants and we want to win the Super Bowl. It's like, well, that's not like a real narrative in my opinion.
Unless they put it as this is your story, you follow a wide receiver and his struggles.
Yeah, at that point, there's a role-playing game then. It's a role-playing football game. But if you're like playing the whole team and it's just like brackets and like just playing the footballs, not
Duffy
really a
in the
narrative.
chat says Inazuma 11 is a sports RPG. I can't confirm or deny that myself because I don't know anything about it, but like there's more proof, I guess.
Yeah. I honestly, I think having a sports RPG would make a ton of sense. Like combine Grand Theft Auto with a football, like a Madden football game, where you, instead of like a gangster or whatever, you're just a football player that can go out and do stuff. Then you go to practice and you play and blah, 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 blah. I feel like that's a pretty decent idea.
Yeah.
And that would, at that point, be a sports RPG. But
not
games,
long ago, there was a game, well, when the Switch launched, Golf Story, which I think a lot of people consider to be...
Golf's not a sport, but whatever.
a sports RPG. And I know like the old Mario Golf games on the Game Boy Color had a lot of RPG elements, surprisingly. Like a full story and everything. But yeah, like different RPGs mean different things to different people. Not to keep bagging on him, but he's the perfect example. Frost does not consider NieR Automata to be an RPG, whereas to me that is very clearly an action RPG.
yes, for me as well.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's an action RPG.
I think it's a mistake whenever you tie very specific mechanics to a genre. That's like, because people like to tie turn-based games to being an RPG, like turn-based, and it's like, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
That's a specific mechanic that was implemented, like like trends within a genre should not define that genre indefinitely. Like turn-based was a huge trend with early RPGs. Not so much anymore. That doesn't mean they're no longer making RPG games.
And part of that, just that, for example, is literally, I think, just because technology has advanced, and it's probably a lot easier to develop a turn-based battle system, I would imagine, than like a fully fleshed out like physics engine for your active combat.
I mean, Final Fantasy 15, for example, that's the fully activated combat system. Like you're moving around, you're the world, you're in the world itself. So, and Jay's right. I mean, the turn-based system, it does not define an RPG. It just helps enhance it because you are taking the role of that character when you fight. That's it. The rest of it's story driven.
Yeah, I think if somebody took a game and made it into a book, and it was like a nonfiction book that was in like third person or first person, that's an RPG. Because whenever you read a book, unless it's like an autobiography, not nonfiction, I meant fiction. If you can take it and turn it into a fiction book, but like autobiographies, you're learning about somebody. You're not putting yourself in that role. But usually with third person and first person fiction books, it's like whenever you're reading it, you are putting yourself in that role and blah 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 blah. So I think that's a better way to define it than it has turn-based and combat and a leveling system. It must be an RPG.
Right.
Because I don't even think a leveling system that needs to exist for an RPG.
I feel like these days more games have leveling systems than don't. Especially modern games, I would say.
That's true.
I mean, does Destiny have a leveling system?
Yep. Oh, it's got a leveling system.
Yeah.
That is a looter shooter RPG.
Yeah. I mean, technically Destiny is an RPG. I think different people would say different things.
Borderlands is an RPG. BioShock is an RPG in a sense.
Yeah.
So
maybe we should just say everything is an RPG and just start calling it fantasy. It's a sci-fi game. It's a
shooter.
It's a fantasy action game.
Yeah.
RPG should just not be a category anymore.
I mean, you can't. I mean, with everything changed with technology piece of it and how people do things, it's all been merged together, except sports.
I saw in the Discord, I mean, there was an almost heated discussion about this at one point that I was starting to wonder am I going to have to step in on this? Yeah. But I think a thing that a lot of people were sort of landing on it was, does it feel like an RPG? Bill brought up Zelda. I know we already talked about that, but like he said, no, it's not an RPG, but to me it feels like one, so to me it is an RPG, which I agree with. But if you put a gun to my head and said, is Zelda an RPG, I would say hell no. So
I mean, it's all how you feel about it as the player. Do you feel as an RPG? That's your opinion. It doesn't matter if someone thinks you're wrong. It's your opinion on that whole situation. So
I guess at the end of the day, what did the publisher publish it as?
That's actually not a bad metric. I think I guess I've never really thought about that before.
Because I guess if you want to get down to it, I mean, technically the story of like Modern Warfare 2 can be considered a role-playing game because you end up playing the role of like Roach and Ghost and like all these different military people. I mean, like the online, not so much. There's no narrative with online play,
right?
But the story mode has a story where you're playing the roles of certain individuals.
Okay. Well, do we want to take a look at this spreadsheet that I've developed?
I just pulled that up and I was like, what is this?
Okay, so I spent a few hours one day trying to come up with some kind of metric scale to determine how much of an RPG a game is. So it's like a series of 10 or 15 questions, each valued differently based on the answer, that it's like totals up points. And so I ran this system on every game that we have reviewed. and it has determined that Fire Emblem Three Houses is the most RPG game we reviewed, followed quickly by, not far behind, Wild Arms, both Grandias, and Final Fantasy V. So, I mean, I would say all of those games are very RPG.
You should trademark this.
I was showing this to Lauren, and she was like, "You should come up with a way to make money off of this."
Yeah, yeah.
And then like the least RPG games we've reviewed would be like the Resident Evils, Uncharted, Celeste, Blair Witch, and Life is Strange 2. And right on the middle line is The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. So Zelda just barely made the cut. So what I've defined for the purposes of the show is if a game gets 100 points, it's we can review it on the main show. If not, it's a bonus review for the patrons. And I found it.
This is good.
Thank you.
Very nice.
The thing that really surprised me was I just sort of like willy-nilly came up with these questions. I was like, that one's worth this many points. That one's worth this many points. And like it worked on all the games we reviewed as far as like my rules without like any modification to it.
I love that. I love that looking like anime is a plus.
Yes. So let me read the questions. Do you play the role of a character? So that's like a freebie. You get 10 points.
So put your name on a test.
Yeah. Do you create or customize your character's appearance? And by that, I meant their actual physical body, not just like clothes. Is the combat turn-based? That's 50 points because I feel like that's like automatically you're almost an RPG at that point. Is the combat system a separate screen mode? And you can think of this as like random encounters. You go to like the battle screen. That's 50 points. So if combat is not a separate screen mode, do you select options from the menu mid-combat, a la Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy VII Remake? That's 30 points. Is damage and health displayed numerically? If so, 10 points. Is there a magic casting / MP system? 10 points. Do you get a party of characters? 10 points. If there is a party of characters, are they all playable? That's 10 points. Is there a, quote, compelling story? And by compelling, my bar was very low on that. It's like, is there a story that goes from plot A to plot B, not just Princess Peach has been kidnapped and you have to go to the castle to save her?
Again?
Yeah.
For the billionth time.
Right. If there's a skill tree or ability learning system, that's 20 points. If there are experience points, that's 30 points. Is there a complex equipment system? And by that, I mean not just like switching your weapon. That's 10 points. Is there a class or job system? 20 points. Is the game open world? 20 points. Is the art style anime? 20 points. See, I feel like if the game is anime, like it automatically sort of feels like an RPG.
To be honest, the Trails games that I've played would score so freaking high on this.
Sure they would. I mean, those are like almost definitively RPGs.
Tales games too.
Yeah.
Would Pokemon?
Yeah. Or I mean, we can run the thing on a couple games here in a minute if you guys want. I put our character designs outlandish. I was thinking like Nomura style, lots of like things you would never see somebody wear in real life.
The 1,000 bucklers.
Yeah. That's 10 points. Is the setting in a fantasy world? 10 points. And then I also gave it another 15 if it's like high fantasy, like, orcs and, medieval Witcher style stuff. And then finally, the last thing is, does it feel like an RPG? And that's 30 points. And then for the record, the first game on the list that we've reviewed that did not meet the criteria was Animal Crossing at 65 points. But it still had plenty of RPG elements, I guess you could say, where it wasn't that far away. Okay, so what do you guys think about this?
Dude, you need to figure out a way to make money off this thing.
I think this is good. I don't know if you should monetize this. However, I think it is great for us to use for determining if we should review a game on the main show.
Make money.
I'll put a link in the show notes to where people can go and look at this themselves. But I think the great thing about this scale is it determines how much of an RPG a game is, and it kind of sort of lets each person figure out what their personal line is. So for the show, it's 100 points, but for somebody like Frost, it might be like 200 or 300 points.
300 sounds about right.
Yeah. I think if I had to say where my personal line would be, it'd probably be like somewhere around God of War or Astral Chain, which is like the 160, 170 area. But yeah, the only one I wasn't able to put on here was Pillars of Dust, because obviously you guys played that, and I don't know hardly anything about it.
I mean, this is pretty good. I mean, you got God of War on here that scored at 160. Donkey Kong 50. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good.
I was pretty proud of myself. I'll be honest. I was just surprised, like I said, about how I just like sort of threw it together and it's like, oh, it works.
So this could be the official, measurement to, you got your Metacritic score, you've got your, all these other scores, but then you have the Scott Spot RPG.
The Scott Spot criteria. Okay, well, I don't know if there's anything else really to say about it, but like we have this awesome rating system that you guys can go out and look at. And if you don't agree with us that something is an RPG, this is the show's rules, and we're following this guide.
We make the rules here, people.
Right.
We make the rules.
We don't have a tea time with Bill, although I would have liked to have gotten his feedback, but I think he submitted some down here. So we'll just go on to listener feedback unless you guys have anything else you want to say on the matter.
I got nothing.
No, I just like to say Jay's idea of letting the publisher decide and us just going with that. Didn't think about that. That's pretty good.
I'm surprised. I thought we might have to more strongly debate this between each other, but I think we kind of
I feel like it kind of depends on what stance I'm taking. Like, so I can take two stances. That a role-playing game has to be where you're playing in the role of somebody, or I can take the stance that a role-playing game is where you are that role. Like you are making the decisions as opposed to following a script. So if I take the stance of me making the decisions and me actually playing in that role, then like almost nothing is an RPG. Like most JRPGs are not RPGs. So.
And why does it say JRPG? Why can't it say European RPG? Like EJRP? I'm just.
There's usually, I feel like it's it's like just a subgenre of RPG that follows like more of a stylistic opinion.
Somebody in the Discord asked, is a game a JRPG if it was developed in the West? but it's like a traditional JRPG. And I was like,
well, I mean, you can have
that's a whole other subject. Don't even open that can, is what I told them.
Well, I mean, you could have a Japanese company that's based in America that does make the game there, but they use their influence of Japan as the JRPG.
Yeah, I guess
that's
a personal preference type deal.
So you just find it.
Would you consider? I'm trying to think of one that is not. I'm thinking Arafel. I don't think Arafel was actually made by a Japanese company.
No.
Would you consider that a JRPG?
No, I wouldn't. But it has JRPG feels to it.
Why would it not just be a JRPG then? Categorized with Final Fantasy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Who knows? Okay,
geographically doesn't make the game.
Yeah,
I think JRPG is more of a homage to the region that started a specific trend. I don't think that regionality is a qualifier.
Absolutely. Okay, listener feedback. Abrac said, good luck with this episode. I think it's impossible. LOL. Well, no, I made a scientific formula, so we're good. He says, any definition you write down will end up including games none of us feel like are RPGs and will exclude games everyone else already considers RPGs, which is true, to be fair.
Sorry, I got lost. I'm assuming it's me.
Yep. You want to take the next one, Jay?
Do I want to take the next one? I
From
do.
NieR.
NieR says, exploration, treasure, different character types and jobs, twists in the story, lots of battles, preferably turn-based, but other ways okay. Hidden passages, backtracking on gaining new skills, not necessarily mandatory, but preferred, also cool outfits.
If there is a waterfall with a hidden passage behind it, does that contribute towards being an RPG?
Yes.
Of course.
And if there is a
Always.
waterfall that doesn't have a secret passage behind it, then the game can burn, in my opinion. But
It should be a 50-point.
there you go. You want to
All
take the
right.
next one, Rich?
Yeah. So Skeleton House says it needs numbers, and the numbers have to go up. I'm assuming that's the level, correct? Is what he's saying. I'm assuming that.
I'm guessing,
Anyways.
or stats.
Yeah. Okay. Generic Fighter says the biggest distinction I think is what way the player gains new or better capabilities. Is it due to the character's growing in power or skill, or is it the only items and gear that make them better? But a role-playing game, by definition, is a game where the player takes on a role. So by that definition, every game is a role-playing game, so it doesn't really matter what I think is an RPG or honestly what anyone thinks is an RPG.
I think that's well reasoned from Generic there.
Yeah.
Brandon says, who just got a new job, so congrats to Brandon. He says, for me, character progression is an important aspect, leveling up stats, skills, etc. Also, of course, having a narrative focus. I don't think there have to be meaningful choices for something to be an RPG, though. If so, the most beloved RPG series like Final Fantasy wouldn't fit the definition. Yeah, I'd say that. I mean, there are dialogue choices in Final Fantasy, but they hardly ever amount to anything. So, I
can't think of any Final Fantasy games that have had dialogue choices. Other than like yes, no.
Yeah, stuff like that.
And then when you hit no, it's like, oh, you might want to rethink that. What do you really think? Yes or no?
Yeah,
Or like that.
Think of in Final Fantasy VII when Cloud meets Aerith again, and you have the chance to be like, "Yeah, I remember you," or like, "You're the slum drunk, right?" Of course, that's
What about
one line of dialogue. So,
did you know in Final Fantasy IX in that very first section, if you tell them you don't know the plan 99 times, one of the other characters will jump in and basically call you out on it.
I thought it was like 64 times.
Is it?
Not that it matters.
I don't know. I did it. I did it once. That was a long time.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. Next, Lala says really good character progression is something I appreciate in an RPG. And then Angry Ass Black Dude says RPGs don't really exist in the same way in modern games. Every modern game uses RPG elements in some way or another. Spider-Man and God of War on PS4 have more RPG elements than old school ARPGs like Secret of Mana.
Boom. I agree with him.
Point. And for the record, Spider-Man and God of War both qualified for as being an RPG with the formula. So,
love it. So, JS, newer person to the community. Welcome.
yeah, thanks for joining the Discord, Jay.
Yes.
Alternate Jay.
So, Ultimate J. I think RPGs have all the following four elements: story, progression, exploration, and combat. I think progression, while often focused on levels, doesn't require them. Levels are a means of doling out stat increases and skill acquisitions on a schedule. Games like FF2 skip levels, but still fit the definition of RPG.
Yeah, he's right. I think everything he said is true. Frost says, I think, quote, you know it when you see it, is the best I can come up with. I believe the purest definition
Yeah, there you go.
is that you play as a ragtag group of misfits who originally set out to combat an evil empire, but later discovers, often from a magical tree, that the true enemy is actually some ancient evil. Against all odds, they defeat this evil, often losing something or someone in the process. Also, it needs to have magic, and not shitty magic grenades like FF15.
Hey, now. Hey. I thought that was a good thing.
I don't know. I feel like this is I mean, we've talked about it in the Discord, but I feel like that's a really narrow definition. But as we know, it's hard to qualify as an RPG for Frost. So
I feel like this is certainly some satire on his part, but
yeah.
Yes, I don't know any game that fits that.
FF6 is the first one that comes to mind, but
did they discover from? Okay, yeah, I guess we can see that. Is it an ancient evil in FF6 though, or I thought it was just Kafka being the evil? Not
I guess you could
really
consider
like
the Warring Triad to be like an ancient evil, but like I think you're right, more or less.
In Final Fantasy IX, it was a tree.
That's true. The tree was evil in that one.
Yeah.
What about Kai, Jay?
So Kai says Diablo and its clones are definitely billed as RPGs in the hack and slash style. And we would have my absolutely favorite RPGs, .hack or Fantasy Star Online, without it. But God, it's one of those styles that can very easily straddle the line. But Diablo also spawned Borderlands, which is an RPG by way of stats and loot, but is definitely a shooter. That's why RPG is so hard to define. But in the vein of games that are billed as RPGs that I would say aren't, Skyrim. But where is the line? Broadly speaking, I think the term RPG is just bad. Turn-based fantasy story game is better. That cuts out most of newer Final Fantasy games, but that's fine. They are action, what does that say? Combat. They are action combat story games. Western RPGs get the role-playing combat style story games. Dragon Quests are just turn-based high fantasy story games. See, break it down.
We got into a discussion based on this about different RPG series and what restaurant they were. Like, I can't remember, like Final Fantasy was Arby's or something like that. And that was like, that was tickling my funny bone that day.
I'm down with some Arby's. What game series would be Chick-fil-A?
Probably something by Blizzard, because I no longer patronize Chick-fil-A for political reasons.
Yeah, they make some really good chicken nuggets, though.
I know.
So I'll tell you what, Aldi has a bag of chicken, like it's basically fried chicken, but it's for me, it's almost indistinguishable from a Chick-fil-A sandwich.
I'll have to look into that.
Very good. It's phenomenal.
Scott said, I'm going to do my own Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the pickles. You can buy like basically Chick-fil-A sauce at Walmart, and you're good to go.
Good to go. That sounds exciting. And I think that Kai, more or less accurate. There's a couple things in here I'm like not sure I agree with, but it means different things to different people. So
yeah. I mean, we could just disagree with Bill right off the gate.
Just don't even
if
read
we
it.
want to. Yeah, don't even read that. No. So, Bill, the only definition is a level progression system at the heart of the gameplay. If a game is a shooter at heart, but has a leveling system, it's still a shooter, and also needs that magic feeling when you're playing one, or the feeling of tenacious, whatever. Tedious if it's the dungeon crawler. So, yes. I don't agree with Bill, but whatever.
I could see that.
All right. JRPG Podcast says characters with visible stat sheets affected by leveling and gear. I don't think much harder past that.
Yep.
Simplify it.
Yep. There you go. And finally, Switch RPG said, good luck with this one, and good luck afterwards when people disagree. So thanks for the shout out from Switch RPG. All right.
They're a good place. I like those
up.
guys.
We got a lot of cool feedback for that, and that's one of the most feedback we've ever had. Yeah, you guys ready to move on to our outro then?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
To the dawn, I wish I could stay here to cherish calm in peaceful days. I am near the edge of dawn, knowing time each day.
Okay, so just going on to our outro here, since we've formally and definitively determined just what an RPG is with no controversy or argument whatsoever, let's wrap things up here. Next week for episode 51, we will be beginning our NieR Automata review. We're going to be talking story and development history. The week after that, we'll do part 2, and we'll have Corey and Lauren on for that. Lauren, because she was the one that nominated the game for the club. So that should be exciting.
I'm excited for Corey.
Did Lauren follow all the way through with us?
Yep.
Excellent.
I don't know that she's actually beaten it yet, but she has sworn to do so by the time the review is. And I know that she is close. So, yeah. So going on to our plugs.
So, you guys, you love the show, you can rate and review us and let us know how we're doing. So you can rate and review us anywhere where you get your podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google, Stitcher, all those places. Please leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. If you really like the show, it really helps us in the algorithms, getting us more popular. The more people listen, the more conversations we have.
Absolutely.
So go out there.
So we also have a pretty dank Patreon. So with Patreon, if you're a patron, you can get early episode access, ad-free episodes, the access to the aftercast and extra reviews, as well as getting being able to make RPG Club nominations and voting for RPG Club. And there is more to it. So check that out at patreon.com/RPG After Years.
Yeah, and as far as the RPG Club goes, it's too late to get your nominations in, but if anybody wants to join, I don't have a problem with them voting still. Yeah, so also we stream to Twitch. We stream the podcast every Sunday, usually at 9 a.m. Eastern, at twitch.tv/RPG After Years. And once again, you can follow me at _Scott_spot. So.
Way to plug that.
Yeah,
We should make it so the After Years Discord or After Years Twitch always hosts your streams as well.
I have already done that. And,
Look at that.
Well, there we go.
and vice versa. Whenever we're live over here, my channel's hosting it. So
Excellent.
it's also, by the way, set up to host you and Rich if you guys ever go live. But yeah.
Eventually. All right. So if you are looking at the stream right now, you could check out some of our merch that Scott is repping right now. Some nice t-shirts. We have t-shirts, hats, everything that you possibly want. You can
We don't
find that
have
at
hats.
the.
I wish we did.
I thought we had hats. I thought we had hats.
No hats.
No
No
hats.
hats, guys. No hats. Sorry, strike that.
They have almost nothing that you've ever wanted.
No hats. So the merch store on Redbubble at redbubble.com/people/RPG After Years /again at Explore.
You could
So
also
check it
just
out.
search RPG After Years, but that'll take you to all our products.
Yes. Last thing one of the other things is email. You can email us if you have any concerns, questions, comments, some bad feedback if you really wanted to give it to us, or even episode ideas. We'd like to get the community to let us know some episode ideas. So, Ed, you can find that at rpgafteryears@gmail.com.
Alrighty. So another thing that we have with the community is our Discord, which always stays lively with awesome conversations and pretty hilarious random moments, if I don't say so. So join us on the Discord. Link can be found in the show notes and on our pinned tweet on the Twitter.
Speaking of Twitter, you can find the show over at RPG Years. If you want to follow me, I'm at the Scott Spot, this time with no underscores.
You can find me at JAYD Hizzle.
You can find me at HaleBlue1569.
If you want to follow Bill, he's at Matunica with 2 N's. But that'll do it for this week, everyone. It was nice to revisit the subject for the billionth time, and now it's laid to rest. Nobody ever bring it up again. So until next time, I'm Scott.
I'm Rich.
And I'm Jay.
See you guys next week. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.